The Post Millennial reports Rumble makes offer to buy and operate TikTok in the U.S. Quote, in the event that ByteDance divests its ownership in TikTok, Rumble stands ready to join a consortium with other parties seeking to acquire and operate TikTok inside the United States. That's the solution. What should happen right now is that all TikTokers should be calling for Rumble to acquire and operate TikTok. It would save the platform. It would help fix a lot of the platform's problems. It would prevent the platform from being shut down, most importantly. And with the unanimous approval from which committee was it that was it? It was like unanimously approved in committee.
The House
Intelligence Committee?
Commerce Committee.
Commerce.
Yeah, the committee.
Energy and Commerce. Yeah.
Right, unanimously approved this bill, which would force TikTok to divest from their Chinese investors, become an American company. The interesting thing is, so this bill they're proposing, I was wrong the other day when we were talking about how it would give the president the power to declare a website or app for an adversary. I was under the impression it was specifically TikTok. That appears not to be the case. The bill gives the president the authority to declare an adversary under certain criteria. If a website, app, operator, or otherwise is being run or is associated with an adversary to the United States, then they can activate severance and seize control or shut it down. That is very, very bad, and we should not support this. I think it's important that everybody reads through it. Thomas Massey tweeted about it because it would shut down VPNs. It would shut down Telegram. It wouldn't just shut down TikTok. It would shut down any chance you have of speaking freely outside the control of the U.S. government. It would effectively put a glass dome over the United States in terms of your communication abilities, which is quite literally what we're trying to avoid when we're critical of TikTok. Is TikTok has a Chinese interest doming over all of those people on TikTok, and we want a free and open internet. However, I do believe that TikTok operating under Rumble would solve my biggest concern, which is the egregious censorship on the platform. TikTok is the worst platform for censorship that we've experienced. So I'm for this, but I'm wondering what you guys would think will happen with TikTok. Do you think they're gonna actually ban it? Do you think TikTok will be forced to divest or what?
I think TikTok's gonna go screaming to the end. They don't think they're gonna give up until they absolutely have to. And I don't know what the fate of this bill is really gonna be. I think there has been a really fair level of criticism. I obviously, I've said it before on the show that I think TikTok has a negative effect on American teenagers, and I think ultimately it does support Chinese interests. The thing that I liked about this bill, I don't like the present thing. I do like that part of it is if they are going to stop operating in the U.S., they do have to give all of the content to all the creators. And so that would make a transition to a TikTok Rumble hybrid easier. And that thing that TikTok is dangling over people right now is that there are so many, the influencer sphere is so big and it really does make a lot of money. Also, businesses will sort of blow up, books will suddenly become famous even though they've been out for 5 years. It has a huge impact on culture and commerce right now. And so if you were to say you're not going to lose your livelihood, because that's what TikTok is saying, it will ruin your life, you won't be able to make money. It's not only taking away the fun, but it's taking away the economic freedom that we gave you by becoming, active on this platform. That would be interesting. I just think that I don't think this bill will go through, and I think the next ban that comes up, if it's better and it does go through, TikTok's going to fight. They're not going to want to go to Rumble.
How do they
till the end.
Define adversary? Do you know? Have you?
It's a technical term that's defined by the State Department. Let me see if I can.
I wonder, is it specifically the Chinese Communist Party, which I doubt?
No, there's like a whole list.
MAGA extremists.
Does it say how they do it in the bill? Because it's
define adversary in the bill.
The term is
usually my man.
Sorry, my apologies. The term is generally set in practice by the national security strategy,
and then they just use that.
I believe,
bill,
but
the bill wouldn't define it.
That's norm and convention.
Right.
There's nothing that can't stop a member of Congress just writing this guy's an adversary in a bill, and if it gets enough votes, that becomes the law.
Or just using certain types of phrases as a way to define adversary. As
Biden's national security strategy stopped short of calling
MAGA extremists.
Stopped short of calling China an enemy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's maybe a competitor is the term, or something maybe a little bit frostier than that.
Okay.
It reminds me,
but it's an upgrade from like 2013, where it was just like openly like a business partner.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of when all the states were banning TikTok and they were each coming out with their own language, and every ban that was issued by a governor got more and more refined, in my opinion, or a lot of them did, because you saw they would be headed as like state enacts TikTok ban. You can't use TikTok on government-owned devices, government-owned Wi-Fi, and it kept expanding. But also some of the states banned other apps that are owned by companies based in Beijing, which is the whole idea that, you know, companies that operate in China are obligated to submit user data to the Communist Party.
It's an idea for you.
That's the threshold they're building off of. So they would also bring up WhatsApp. Like you can't use certain states. You can't use WhatsApp on government Wi-Fi or government-owned devices. And again, it's the idea that like these
entities.
Right. These entities have broad reaching terms of service. They're able to use all kinds of, I mean, it's similarly, Trump is right when he points out that, you know, in some ways this would benefit Facebook, which in its terms of service, if you open Facebook on your browser, it can see everything else on every other tab. Right. And that's the concern they have with TikTok.
I think two things are going on here on the Republican side. One, there is the longstanding view, and apologies if you guys use TikTok at all, but I don't.
I've been banned.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Not the right audience for that. Then.
Are you a TikTok fan?
I won't put it on my phone.
We got banned arbitrarily for citing statistics.
Okay.
Not even offensive ones. It was depression among women.
I see.
And someone read a stat that the study found that women who are in the workplace have higher rates of depression, and permabanned instantly.
What year is this?
This was last year, I think.
I think in general, conservatives look at it two different ways. One, the medium is not particularly high IQ. In fact, like literally just seems like if you watch enough videos, it's just going to melt your brain. But two, there has been a development, I feel like, in the last 6 to 12 months where there's such a lack or paucity of Republicans on the platform that the ones who do go on do very well. And I think someone like Ramaswamy, the candidate, called for a ban, and then I think he started going on, and he's obviously very well spoken, and kind of did well, and he's like, well, maybe we should just compete. Dances, yeah. So I think that's kind of going on. And also, I think it's this sort of weird situation where it's not that weird. Neither party trusts the other with the power of the state. So if the Republicans were convinced that, like, you know, Congressman Gallagher, who's retiring, or like Marco Rubio was going to like be the one adjudicating, you know, who's an adversary or like who gets banned based on China ties. Okay. But like if the Democrats win, like they're obviously the prospect of them stretching an interpretation here to make it arbitrary, as you just said, seems like not only likely, but certain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you ban TikTok, or what would that look like for you?
I would have said yes a year ago. At this point, I mean, look, if they're serious, I mean, that guy, the TikTok CEO who kept saying, remember he had that exchange with, I believe it was Cotton or somebody, like he kept indicating that he's Singaporean. He's not actually Chinese.
Right.
Yeah. I'm Singaporean. You know, I think it was Cotton.
That's the big difference. As someone who went to high school in Singapore, it's different.
It is different. It's
Probably
different. But obviously,
wait, they're different places. I didn't realize that the
there's different parts of.
Well, he's Singaporean, but ByteDance still is based in Beijing.
Right.
Singapore is like the Rhode Island of countries. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a solipsism by him. He represents a Chinese firm, and he just kept indicating. You know, it'd be a little bit like, you know, if you were born in a different country and just like really roping on that,
well,
even though you.
Well, I'll give you an example of the purpose of this assumptive language. When I was in Venezuela, I'm an American. I know what happens to Americans.
When were you in Venezuela?
10 years ago, 11 years ago.
So was it before Maduro or Chavez?
No, it was during Maduro. Yeah,
so 2014.
And it was large protests from the middle class because they're being gutted and destroyed. Right. And I'm with the film crew for Vice, and a guy comes up to me and he goes, "Where are you from?" And he's pissed. And I know exactly what comes next. And I go, Vice Magazine. And he goes, no, what country? And I was like, Vice Magazine is a Canadian magazine. And he was like, and then he nods and he walks off.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't actually answer his question. When he said, where are you from? I was like, Vice Magazine. Right. As if the question was what outlet. When I know what he meant. And you have to that you're legally required to have your passport on you at all times if you're a foreigner.
And so then we said the Biden thing and talk about how your car.
No. When he said which country, instead of answering the question, I said Vice Magazine is a Canadian magazine, which was not the question he asked, but he assumed then I must be Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's the point of saying I'm from Singapore.
Right.
We get it. We know. We're asking who you are representing.
Right.
Oh, it's very clever. I mean, you survived, so I mean, it worked, and this guy is still in the arena. I mean, if they are serious, I think like this is just optically, in my personal opinion, a great deal for them. Everybody knows Rumble is right aligned. if they're serious about operating the U.S. and they want to show that they're divested from, day in, day out of control by Beijing, why not take this offer?
I mean, that's kind of wild to say that Rumble is right aligned, to be honest. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I think functionally they are. They're obviously filling a gap in the marketplace.
But I think the challenge we are facing right now is that the right is just a bunch of centrists.
What is the right?
The right is centrism, and the left is far left extremism, as exemplified by Rumble will not ban far leftists. They will not do it. They will allow the left and the right to have their conversations. The left will absolutely ban anyone on the right. Consistently in the culture war, the right says, "Now slow down there. Let's be fair to each other," and the left just says, "Destroy them."
One of the most telltale signs of this whole thing, I feel like you see it a little less now because it's just so ridiculous. But a couple of years ago, when you had a lot of I'll just use this term again, left-aligned thinkers or speakers or public personalities putting the word free speech in sneer quotes, right? It was like literally like the concept is literally the First Amendment of the United States. But the idea of free speech being a novel or right-wing concept. I think that's the environment in which Rumble came into being.
Free speech means hate speech.
Right. This is an old debate, but it's like the idea that the open forum in the digital era. Even the terms. I will ban it from my magazine. Like the words misinformation or disinformation. Like, are we all adults or not?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't use those words. You're saying?
No.
Nice.
No. It's just like, if we want to have some insane, very far left person write something and it's actually very well done, they can, I'm not going to say this is misinformation. The reader can make up their own mind.
Right. The writers are allowed to use it, you're saying? Or
I won't allow it.
Right.
I won't allow misinformation.
Because it's been so overused and means nothing anymore.
I do believe human beings lie or make arguments that are fraudulent or sententious, but I think it is a lot better to litigate that and debate it and have an open discussion than to just say this is misinformation trademark. It's an un-American.
Have you
concept.
rejected other modern style guide concepts as an editor of a magazine?
There's
so many.
We're fairly straight. Oh yeah,
capital B for black. No,
we don't use that. We don't use
the New
that.
York Times.
We don't use that.
Small W for white. It's crazy.
I think the Post is still. It's very confusing.
The Post is the New York Post. You're saying
the Washington Post.
Okay, because the New York Post is, I think, lost their minds.
New York Post has lost their minds.
Yeah, their stories have become more like BuzzFeed articles. I've noticed lately. Yeah, totally. That doesn't mean it's all like that.
What era do you think that changed?
I've only noticed it recently. Okay. But I think it's been happening slowly because I remember seeing bylines in the New York Post and then going to check out their Twitter, and their Twitter pages were just like insane leftist people, but their articles weren't so left leaning. So they were sort of like objective, but then the objectivity started to wane, and now we're getting more articles that I would have seen as like first person essays in BuzzFeed 10 years ago. Okay. Like sex obsessed, weird,
I see.
Modern love, but spicy.
A little more
columns.
tabloid.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
It's weird.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.